It's a blessing to welcome on one of the newest members of Minnesota. You're returning back home. Sutherlin, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, man. How about you?
Pretty good. Well, as I just said, it's a big decision now. You're coming to closing out your college career now, back home in Minnesota. How you feeling right now?
I feel great. Honestly, it's a dream come true. Get back to my home state. I'm happy to be a Gopher.
Absolutely, man. Well, we're gonna get back into Minnesota in a little bit, but I want Gopher fans to get to know you a little bit better. So let's head all the way back. As I said, you're from Minnesota. So what was it like growing up out there?
It was really good. Minnesota basketball is, I think, one of the most underrated states, just
Mhm.
as far as like producing some of the best players in the country. Grew up watching guys like Tyus Jones. I was in the same class as Gary Trent Jr., so it was really competitive growing up in Minnesota.
That's something I want to dive into because I've had quite a few Minnesota guys on recently, and obviously we know the Texases, the Californias, the New Yorks, Florida, like those states really get a lot of attention, and they are great too. But Minnesota, especially this past era, has been great. Well, the guys probably from within the past 10 years, past decade, I'd say, have really been a lot, really special. As we see the past two classes have probably debatably the number one pick back-to-back years with Jalen Suggs and Chet. But what's it been like kind of seeing the rise of Minnesota basketball the past few years?
It's been great just because like we're not really known as like a basketball state. Like
Mhm.
you said, in the last ten years, we've produced a lot of good players. So it's been great just to see guys like Jalen and Chet, just to see how they grew up and where they are now. So it's been really good to see those guys.
Let's head into your career a little bit. Obviously, stay at one school your whole time in Irondale. Take us to that decision though. Why is that the school you chose?
I grew up right around Irondale. It was just kind of like a no-brainer for me because it was really close to my house. So that's why I went to Irondale.
Ultimately, that we do know it's not always the most successful in terms of win losses for you guys throughout your time there, but you end up craving out a pretty good legacy for yourself here. Third all-time leading scorer in school history. You get All-State three different times. You're an MVP back-to-back years. Like you achieve a lot through your high school career. So to know that you kind of achieved all that though, is that shocking to you? Did you expect that heading into your high school career? Like, what was kind of your thoughts? Did you think that all going to happen the way it did?
No, not really. When I first got to high school, I wasn't considered one of like the best players in Minnesota or anything like that. I kind of had to work my way up. So that's at Irondale, it was a great opportunity because I got to play right away as a freshman and play 4 years on varsity. So it was just a great experience at Irondale. I got to grow up a lot,
Mhm.
get coached up. So it was a good experience.
I believe that you also started kind of getting involved in the program in eighth grade. Take us to that a little bit.
Yeah. The coaches saw me in eighth grade. They really liked my game and they wanted me to come. He told me I'd have a chance to play varsity my freshman year, so I just took that opportunity in eighth grade. So yeah.
Obviously, being around guys that are much older than you by the time you're already in eighth grade, how much did that help develop you for not only your rest of your high school career, but ultimately throughout your college career now too?
Yeah, it's always a good thing to play with guys that are older than you because they're always bigger and stronger and faster. You just gotta find ways to be productive. So it's always good to play with guys that are older than you.
When did it start clicking for you? Like, when did you start realizing, I might be able to play this game at Division One? Because you always took the Juco route too, but like, when did you start
Mhm.
clicking and saying, okay, I can play this game much longer than just throughout high school?
I honestly didn't know until my senior year of high school because that's kind of when I kind of blew up in Minnesota. I was one of the leading scorers in Minnesota, but before that, I didn't really see myself playing in college. Like I didn't really have too many schools looking after me, so it was really not until my senior year till I was like, yeah, I can play college ball.
Now, we did mention that you obviously are playing in Minnesota, going up against a lot of top guys all your time there. Who would you say like some of your favorite guys? Like, was there even maybe one guy specifically that you'd say you love matching up against? Like, when you had them on the schedule, you really want to go up against them?
Yeah, Champlain Park had McKinley Wright, which
Mhm.
he's at Colorado, so I always like playing against him. He was a competitive guy. He plays both ends of the floor, so every time we played Champlain Park, I really wanted to go against him.
Go a little bit deeper into McKinley because he's obviously a guy that personally I think he's one of the more underrated college stars we've had. Obviously, he became one of the most legendary Pac-12 players, but he doesn't never get the attention and the respect he deserves. But you kind of head back there, like you playing as this guy in high school. Do you think he's gonna be as special as he was throughout his college career?
Yeah, I've always thought he was good because I've been playing against him for 4 years in high school. So
Yeah.
I got to see him like just just kill in high school, and then in college, obviously he had a great career. But yeah, he's one of the best players I definitely played against.
What was the first game you played against him like? Kind of take us through that game.
Um, I think it was my freshman year in the section game. They were the
Mhm.
number one team in the state, and we were the eighth seed. So got a chance to play against the number one team, and he was the starting point guard. And I think I played pretty good at that game, but we ended up losing by like 20, and they ended up winning state that year. So it was that was one of the first times I got to play at like a high level and play good.
I mentioned earlier that you guys weren't the most successful win-loss team out there, but were there any point for you, because you started clicking at 10 points per game you average your sophomore year, great junior year too. At any point did you start saying, I could possibly take my talent somewhere else. I could play at a place where I'm winning more, maybe even a bigger spotlight. Like, did that ever cross your mind?
No, not really. I kind of wanted to stay close to home.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't really want to transfer anywhere to play high school ball. So no, that didn't really cross my mind.
As I mentioned, your sophomore year was really a solid year for you. You start averaging 10 points per game, but walk us through that sophomore year for you.
Sophomore year was really big for me because, like I said, my freshman year, I got a little bit of experience on varsity. So
Hmm.
coming back for that sophomore year, I was ready for a bigger role on the team. Um, that sophomore year, I started at point guard, and we were pretty good. Got to play with some good guys. It was really just a great experience to play varsity as a sophomore because a lot of kids don't get that opportunity. So it was definitely a good experience my sophomore year.
Your head coach, you had to grow a pretty good bond with, staying with him for nearly 5 years. What was your relationship like with Coach DeMars, and just how that grow over your career?
At first, um, we didn't really get along that well, but by the time my senior year came, we were really close. Like I could come up to him and talk about anything um about my senior year, and I was one of the leaders on the team, so he would come talk to me, and I would relay the message to my teammates. So by the time I graduated, really good relationship with Coach DeMar.
Your junior year is really one of your big breakout years too. You end up getting MVP that year. What was that year like for you?
I actually got injured in the beginning of my junior year and my knee injury. So I
Mhm.
missed about half that year, but that was probably the toughest year of high school for me, just coming back from injury, and trying to get back into the rotation and stuff. But my junior year, towards the end of the year, I started to pick it up a little bit, and we won some big games that year.
Walk us through an injury, because you also are dealing with one still today where you got to miss your past season. When you have an injury, though, we always know that's not what you prefer. You much rather be on the court. But how do you learn from that? Because there's always a chance to kind of learn and get better, obviously, throughout that year or so process, however long your injury is. But what did you learn throughout that first process that kind of helped you for then your senior year?
Um, like you said, when you're injured, you get to see the game through a different scope. Like you're on the sideline, you get to notice little things like pace of the game and little things that are going on. So that definitely helped me a lot my junior year, just to help me like slow the game down and trying to think it through instead of going so fast all the time. So that definitely helped me my junior year.
If we go through AAU at that point, then we know you also become teammates with someone that you're now going to reunite with at the college level, and that's Parker. But walk us through
Yeah.
that AAU season, because obviously it was a special one. It really led to your blow up senior year for yourself. But that AAU, you get to play with Parker, if you had the good players. What was that like?
It was a really good experience that 17 year. I didn't know exactly who I wanted to play with. And then Parker actually DM'd me on I think Instagram. He was like, "Come play with us with the Minnesota Heat." So I ended up taking the opportunity and playing with the Heat. Willie Vang was the coach, one of the best coaches I've had. And then that group was just special. We didn't have like the most talent or anything like that, but we always found a way to win games. So that was definitely one of the best teams I played on.
When did this relationship with you and Parker first start? Did that start that AAU summer when you first DM'd you, or did you guys know each other before that? Like, when did you guys first start talking?
Yeah, it was probably a little bit before that, just because like playing around in Minnesota, the AU circuit and stuff, I kind of like knew who he was, but we weren't close or anything like that. And then when he ended up DMing me and we became teammates, we definitely became close. Probably one of the best teammates I've had. He's a really cool dude, funny guy. So one of my best teammates for sure.
So you guys both took separate ways then after high school. Obviously, you take the Juco route we'll touch up on, then you play years in New Hampshire. He takes his Division two route. But have you guys stayed in contact? Obviously, you guys are reuniting now, but do you guys always keep talking? Have you guys been close friends all this time? Did you guys just start reuniting past couple of months now. Like, walk us through your bond the past few years.
Yeah, ever since we played AAU together, we've been really close. Like every time we would come home from school, we would play together in like open gyms and work out together and just hang out outside of the court too. So I've been really close with Parker ever since that AAU team.
Let's hop into that senior year because that's the year you end up moving from number 3 all time in school record scoring wise. You average 24 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists per game. Take us to that senior year for yourself and really what allowed you to break out that year.
Right. Yeah, my senior year, I just had a lot of confidence. Like, I was one of the only seniors on the team, so I was definitely looked at as a leader to try to lead the team. And I just embraced that role. It was something I always dreamed about was being the star player. So I just took every game and I embraced every moment and tried to play hard every game and ended up having a pretty good senior year. I'd say.
You look back at all your high school moments. What would you say is your favorite memory? Like, is there one memory that stands out more than every other one?
Um, I'd say beating Totino Grace. That was kind of our rivals. We beat them my senior year, so that was probably the best experience for me in high school.
I've asked a few of the Minnesota guys this question, but I want to get your take on it too. If you look at all the guys that you played against, or kind of this past era, so guys up until like this past recruiting class with Chet, so all the way Jalen, Chet, Ken, all those guys that you just talked about, who would you say would make your all Minnesota team? Like if you're putting together a 5-man starting lineup, then 4 or 5 guys off the bench, who's on that all Minnesota team the past decade?
Last decade, um, I'll put Tyus at the one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rashad Vaughn at the two.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say Gary Trent at the three. The four is tough. Reed Travis at the four, and then I'd say Theo John at the five.
Who'd come off the bench then?
All right, so I said me off the bench, me, Ken, um, Trey Jones,
Mm-hmm.
trying to think. I'd say Parker and one more. Jarvis Johnson.
For sure. So let's go through this whole process then. You just have your huge senior year then, and you're looking at your college opportunities. Obviously, a goal would be to go Division 1 out of high school, but you take the Juco route. What brought you to Sheridan? Like, why is that the school you chose?
Sheridan was my only really full scholarship offer. So
Mhm.
after high school, I didn't have too much interest or anything like that. And then Sheridan reached out to me and they wanted me to come on a visit. So I went on a visit with AJ Bramah, who was my
Mhm.
roommate. We went on a visit and we were basically like, this is the place we want to go. So we both committed, and then that's how that went.
That is a unique situation because we know JUCO is something that not a lot of people have a lot of respect for unless you really are involved in the JUCO world. But what was your initial reaction to that? Because I know not a lot of guys are super well known and educated on the JUCO world. Like, were you shocked by the level of JUCO? Like, what was your first thoughts on becoming a JUCO player?
It was just really competitive since the first day I got there. I remember walking to the gym and just everybody was good. Like everybody was a Division 1 player. So it was just competitive every day in practice. You just had to fight for everything in JUCO. Nothing's gonna be handed to you. You got to work hard, and then yeah, that was probably the biggest thing for me was just the competitive nature of JUCO.
You mentioned AJ, and obviously he's panning out great. He had an incredible career at Robert Morris, now playing at ASU for his final year. But how did you guys bond grow that first time you met him to now today even? How have you seen your guys' relationship grow?
Yeah, ever since I met AJ, he's been one of my best friends for sure. He just has great energy. He's always talking, always happy. So that's definitely one of my favorite teammates for sure. And our relationship just grew ever since the first time I met him. We definitely stayed in contact even in the summer before our freshman year, and we would just talk almost every day, and we would just build a relationship. So that's one of my best teammates for sure.
There's always that mentality that when you are in JUCO, though, you know that you want to make the goal. You don't want your career to end after 2 years. And that obviously can cause a little bit issues in the locker room sometimes because you know everyone you're competing with, you have pretty much a 2-year timer on yourself. How much did that push you? And what was the locker room like? Like, how competitive was it? Like, just take us through the locker room in the JUCO world.
Right. Like you said, it's competitive every day. You have coaches coming in to watch, and you want to be the one that they're talking to after the practice. So you got to go at whoever you're matched up with. So it definitely brought some tension into the locker room. But at the end of the day, it's all love. Especially with the JUCO teammates, because you go through things that most college players don't go through with like at the 4-year school. So that JUCO bond is definitely a different bond.
What was the hardest practice you remember from JUCO times?
Probably definitely one my freshman year. We would always have morning practices at like 5 a.m. Coach would wake us up at 5 a.m. and we would do conditioning, and then we would have like a 2 or 3 hour practice, and we would do that for like a couple of weeks in the preseason, and that was definitely tough.
I can imagine you and AJ played quite a few one-on-one games before. Who wins those games?
I say we go back and forth. It's not lopsided either way. We're both really competitive, so we definitely go at it one-on-one.
So if you guys are going to play a 7-game series, who's going to be the first to 4 wins?
I'll say me in 7.
Absolutely, man. Well, throughout that time, you're very successful as well. 55-9 overall record. Obviously, you really get that winning nature established there. What was like winning that many games?
It was crazy because like we were so good that like everybody could play. We have 10 players that can play, so you just got to find a way to get on the court. And then once you get on the court, you're winning games. Coach did a great job of putting everybody in their role, and just have everybody playing as one, really. So I give a lot of credit to Coach for putting that all together. In those 2 years, I think we won 50 games, like you said, 55 games. So yeah, it was really good.
At the same time, as we've talked about now, you're looking at trying to become a Division I player. That's your ultimate goal. You choose New Hampshire, but what other schools were really in the running for you? Like, was there another option that you were really seriously looking at?
No. New Hampshire was my only D1 offer, and I knew I wanted to go D1, so that was probably my only offer for sure.
Your first season out there was obviously spectacular, and you averaged 12 points, 9 rebounds. But overall, just take us to that decision, like, because you go to New Hampshire once again, you're away from home. What was that like adjusting to the college life at the Division I level?
It was definitely tough that first summer. It was a lot to get used to, just the pace of the game at D1. It's a lot different from JUCO. You gotta practice hard every day. That was probably the biggest thing for me was the practices. It's two practices a day and you gotta go hard the whole time. That's probably the biggest change for me.
So you play at the high school level, you play at JUCO and Division I now. Take us to some of the similarities, differences between all 3 levels.
I'll say in high school, it's more you can do whatever you want. The coaches don't really control you as much. Like you could really freelance really on offense. There's not too much structure. In the JUCO level, you gotta do what the coach says, especially on a team, a high level team like that I played on. You gotta just know your role. Like my freshman year, I didn't shoot any jumpers because that wasn't my role. I was more like a defender, rebounder. And then my sophomore year, I had a bigger offensive role, but I still did the same things I did my freshman year. So I think that you just got to find your role wherever you are, especially at the college level. And that goes for JUCO, D1, D2, D3. It doesn't really matter. You just got to find your role.
So you're going to be under Coach Heron then for your career, and walk us through your guys' bond, because obviously you going out there, you're one of the star players on the team. How did you guys' bond grow throughout that season?
Yeah, Coach Arian is a really good coach. I'd say one of the best coaches I've had. He's really intense, really defensive oriented. He just wants you to play hard the whole time. And we bonded good because I'm more of like I play hard. I try to play hard all the time. So we definitely got a bond that is definitely going to last forever.
That season, you averaged 13 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. How did you start really getting that comfortable so early on?
Right. I give a lot of credit to my teammates and my coaches. They just gave me so much confidence right when I stepped on campus. Like they gave the ball to me and they wanted me to make plays for myself and others, and that just gave me so much confidence. So yeah, I say I give a lot of credit to my teammates and my coaches for just letting me be myself. Like they just let me rebound and play my game. So I give a lot of credit to them.
You go out there and you lead the conference in double doubles, which is an easy job as well. But that's something I like about your game because you can score. Obviously, the field goal percentage isn't always there, but you get to the free throw line at a high clip. You rebound at a high clip. You're also a great defensive player. Take us through how you become such an all-around balanced player.
Um, I'd say that's just from different roles I played on. Like I said, at Sheridan, I wasn't really like a top scorer. I was more like a defender and a rebounder. And in high school, I was more like a scorer. So I just tried to put my whole game together and just that's what I did my junior year is just try to put my whole game together and try to play hard every game.
There is one game we have to touch up on, and that is against Bryant. You get 21 points and 20 rebounds, something that very few guys are capable of getting those type of numbers in. How was that game? Like, walk us through that night, November 26th against Bryant.
Yeah, that was a really good game. Bryant played really hard. They were talking, so I was just, I try to play hard all the time, and it was just I had a lot of energy that game. Just try to get every rebound. My teammates did a great job that game. Um, yeah, probably one of the best games of my career for sure.
Throughout that year, at what point would you say it kind of started clicking? Like, when did you start feeling comfortable at the Division One level?
I'd say in the like since the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
like first game, I feel like I was comfortable just because I was really close to my teammates and my coaches. Like they gave me so much confidence that I was just comfortable right out the gate.
We then know the COVID pandemic sets in, but you win the award of being all third team all conference that year. How did you learn about that award and what was your reaction to that?
Um, yeah, they told me right before the playoff game, and I was really excited because, like I said before, I didn't have any Division One offers, so for me to be on an all conference team was a blessing. It was honestly a dream come true to be on that all conference team.
So then the COVID pandemic sets in, and we know that you're going to be locked in at home for, at that point in time, we don't really know how long it will be. But what's your mindset as an athlete when you know that you want to improve on something during this time span? Like, what's the biggest things you keyed in on, really improved on during the quarantine, during the off season?
Um, I was really just trying to work on my ball handling and my shooting that whole summer. Um, I was working back home in Minnesota with one of my coaches, and every day since it was a pandemic, we would work outside. Like we would go run hills outside, go on the outside court and just do ball handling drills, and that's the biggest focus was for me to improve my jump shot and my ball handling this last summer.
Now, we didn't get to go see all that improvement on the court this past year because you were out with an injury. So take us to that. How did it all happen and just walk us through the injury process and the rehab process?
Right. So I think like 2 weeks before the season,
Mhm.
I found out I had a torn labrum in my hip, and I wasn't going to be able to play this year. So that was definitely a setback because I had worked so hard in the summer. I was ready to show everybody I could do. Um, so yeah, it was definitely a tough process. I got to go back home in Minnesota to get surgery and do my rehab. So it's been a good process. I'm almost 4 months out from surgery, so I'm starting to get back to where I was. So I feel like I'm in a good spot right now.
So do you remember when that happened? Like, did you start feeling pain in it and that's when they checked it out? Or did it just all of a sudden pop up when they told you? Like, take us through the pain if there was any.
Right. They said I've been playing on it for over a year. So
Hmm.
I guess it happened last year during the season. So I guess I was playing on it for a while, and then it was just I just had some pain in my hip right before the season. I ended up getting an MRI, and they told me what it was. So yeah.
So then you get the extra year eligibility because of COVID, and you get the opportunity to get a couple different offers, a couple different looks, but you ultimately choose the Minnesota. But take us through this process because I think we talked about earlier. Well, only one Division One offer coming out of JUCO route. You only had one JUCO offer coming out of high school. Now you have a lot more schools looking at you, and you get to go to a high major Big Ten school. What was going through your mind? How much better was this process than the other ones?
This process was definitely a lot different because more coaches reached out to me. Before I didn't really have any coaches recruiting me or anything like that. And then when Minnesota called, it was honestly a dream come true because I've been thinking about going to Minnesota for a while. So when they called, honestly a blessing. And when they offered, I just definitely couldn't turn it down because, like I said, it's a dream come true.
We get to be coached now by Coach Ben Johnson. If we're being honest, obviously we know that the past couple years of the past era of Minnesota basketball hasn't been the best. But Coach Johnson's coming in. He has that hometown pride. He's returning back home. A new era is beginning now in Minnesota. Why should Minnesota fans be excited about Coach Johnson? Like, what's so special about him, and why is he possibly the guy that could make Minnesota the next great school in the Big Ten?
Yeah, like you said, Coach Johnson is a really good guy. I just met him, but I could tell that he has a plan in place for the future. So I feel like he's going to do a great job recruiting. He already has a plan in for this next year. He plans on not taking a year off. So it's going to be I feel like we're going to shock a lot of people this year.
The biggest thing that a lot of people keep questioning is, okay, you guys are in Minnesota. We just talk about all this talent coming through there, but no one wants to stay home. But Coach Johnson comes in, he lands you, he lands Parker. Obviously, Train's still returning back home too to play as an incoming freshman. But what will it take to have Minnesota become a destination point that a guy like Chet could seriously consider, a guy like Jalen could have seriously considered? Like, what will it take for Minnesota to become that program again?
I just feel like winning games will take care of all of that. I feel like if we're competitive in the Big Ten, recruits are going to want to come. So I think that winning games is the biggest thing.
This will be a whole new look roster. We discussed obviously a little bit about Parker, but he's coming in. Jameson's someone that I'm very high on. EJ, Luke, the newest guy, Payne's also coming in. How excited should fans be for this incoming group of guys?
I feel like we're about to play as hard as we can. I feel like it's a group that we're going to be able to play fast. Like you said, we got a lot of new guys that we're going to have to gel early, but I feel like fans should definitely be excited.
So obviously you know Parker, but how about the other guys? Have you got to talk to any of them yet?
Yeah, I met Jameson a while back because he's from Minnesota too. So I've been getting to know him a little bit more, and then I met EJ as well. So I feel like it's going to be a good group of guys.
I had Parker on a couple days ago, and he kind of discussed how he started recruiting you a little bit. Then he ultimately turned into you recruiting him to come there. Walk us through your side of the story of obviously both you guys reuniting now in Minnesota.
Yeah, we talked a little while back in the summer, and we were working together at a Minnesota Heat camp, and we were just talking like it'd be crazy for us to play together again.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything happened, and the opportunity came. So I just felt like I committed first. So I just felt like I had to recruit him, just like he recruited me to Minnesota. So I'm definitely excited to play with Parker again.
And not only is this, obviously, we know the impact of coming back home is that you're the hometown hero now. Your family can come out and watch you. Your friends can. Like, what's it going to be like being able to be embraced by the hometown community?
Yeah, I can't wait. Minnesota is my home. I love Minnesota. It's something that I feel like my whole family has been thinking about for a long time. And just the fact that, like you said, they're going to be able to come watch me play at home games is going to be crazy.
Some fans might have went back and watched some of your film, but take us through what they're going to be getting from you on the court this upcoming season.
Um, Definitely defensive rebounding. That's something I pride myself on. I'm gonna play hard. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna score. I feel like it's gonna be a good year for sure.
Is there one word that you use to describe you, like the whole package of you, both on and off the court? What was the one word that describes Sean Sutherlin?
Competitor.
Absolutely, man. Well, a couple more things before I let you go. One of which is discussing a legacy, because that's something I know that all guys want to do for themselves. So when you are done playing basketball someday, what do you want to be remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court?
Um, my legacy. I feel like just someone that never gave up, someone that worked hard, self-made. I feel like my game does a lot of my talking for me, on the court, but off the court, I just want to be remembered as a humble person that always worked hard.
We discussed your whole story now. Obviously, the high school not coming out with a lot of offers, taking the Juco route, going to New Hampshire, now becoming a high major player. And I think there's going to be a lot more of those guys, especially with the whole pandemic, stopping AU stuff for the past year or so. So what's your advice to guys, other guys that are in your shoes coming out of high school? What's your advice to them?
Just to always work hard. I feel like God got a plan for everybody, so don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just focus on yourself and just put the time into the gym, and the game is definitely going to repay you.
Absolutely, man. My final thing for you, give Gopher fans your three biggest goals you have set for your Gopher career?
First goal is just to win games. Second goal is just to play hard, and third goal is just to be competitive in every game.
Without a doubt, man. Well, congratulations on the big return home, man. I'm excited to see what God got next for you, and thanks for coming on again, man.
Thank you.
Of course, always welcome on, man. God bless.